Hi everybody, it's Andy Davis from People First. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Jeremy, all the way over from Melbourne again.
Yeah.
Welcome, good to see you again.
Cheers mate, nice to be here.
And we've had an amazing week yet again, and I just want to take the time to actually have a chat with Jeremy about what we've been up to and what are our next steps. So Jeremy, for everybody, do you want to tell everybody what we've been doing this week and what excited work we've been up to?
Yeah, well it's really good to be here in the middle of course a British summer, so we've got all of about 16 degrees and it's a little bit sunny, but it is great to be here. And of course Andy says I can't move from this spot, so some of you guys know I like to move around, so I promise not to move. But behind us is this extraordinary building which is Reddington House, just outside of
Reddington Hall.
Sorry, Reddington Hall, not house. Yes, and it's a big building, that's a stately home that was built about 1860 by a wealthy guy, and it's pretty much been owned by some wealthy individuals who are really entrepreneurs. Ever since, it's gone through a series of owners, but each of those owners is part of a family, like the tradition of creating jobs for the local,
absolutely,
the local
true entrepreneurs
town and county. And the current owner, John Mills, is no different. He bought this property about 1992, I think, if I got my history right. And in here, believe it or not, there are a couple of hundred people who are part of a workforce of about 750 called Midland Human Resources, or MHR, who are, quite frankly, one of the UK and the world's leading software developers, specialising particularly in HR tech, payroll, and particularly HR solutions in the cloud. And they've actually been very innovative. Yeah, this is an amazing place just to be here, and it's really apposite. Do you like that word? Apposite. It's a nice word. It means appropriate for a conversation, because what we're doing here basically is spending the whole week planning with a bunch of guys here as a core team how we're going to take and bring all 750 members of the current workforce into what we call the summit room to co-create the future of work at MHR.
And we've had a series of workshops this week, haven't we?
Yeah.
To actually really put in that place the design principles and actually design what that summit room is going to look like. And we've had incredible engagement from across the business on that. And you know, this is starting right at the very top.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's not. I mean, we know from the Gallup Group, for example, that only 13% of the workforce in the world is engaged at work, and it's about 16% here in the UK. And you know, we are living at an age now where the future of work requires the release of everyone's strengths and talents in order to innovate at scale. So it used to be about continuous improvement. I think that's still important, but continuous improvement is tinkering around the existing why. So for example, there is a significant investment here in the company in some very slick products which are providing exceptional value to customers, to MHR's customers now. But we also know that there is a time when there is a requirement for new products and a new generation of thinking about what that looks like.
And we're at that point now. And
absolutely.
Just for the sake of everybody, when he says SMIC, he means fantastic. Okay.
Don't use that word. SMIC.
We don't know, but we love it when you say it. Okay.
SMIC. It means really cool. Wicked. How about wicked?
We'll go with SMIC. I think,
all right,
at that point.
SMIC.
But yeah, so in the workshops this week. What was it that came out of it from you? What was it that really stood out in terms of those stories that were told and things?
What stood out for me was when we started to take a group of people around a journey of switching the conversation from the problem, fixing things. We've spent 300 years in our organisational lives seeing people and organisations as problems.
Yep.
I think that's why we've got so many disengaged people, because do you want to be seen as a problem?
Of course you don't. No,
of course you don't. So we're switching the lens to strengths, and so shifting from seeing a problem to a possibility, turning that conversation from what doesn't work here at MHR to, you know, what is the most exceptional stories of great contribution here, and to both customers, and also what it means when I feel engaged at work.
And that's really
shifted the conversation and brought up a sense of excitement. And when you, and just on that, when you shift to the positive, when you focus on strengths, what happens is you're able to to understand the things that work, that give life to humans when they're working well, and to see work as a set of collaboration of strengths. And that's what we're doing. And if we can do that with 20 people here this week, 40 people, the question is, how can we do that with 750? So we're experiencing the strengths-based approach, and then so excited about what's going to happen in September in the summit room.
And it has been fantastic this week in terms of the engagement we've had from everybody. And in a nutshell, the appreciative inquiry that we're actually using is using those amazing stories where they are the best of. So what was the time that you experienced the best customer service or the best implementation, whatever it may be, and we're going to build on those bests, aren't we?
Yes, and so for example, MHR is no different from a lot of companies, technology companies, and not just tech companies, but companies across the board, where we live in times of massive change, and we're hearing this term disruption now. I absolutely hate that word, I'll be honest with you, as a standalone word. You know, disruption implying that you've got to throw everything out and the past doesn't matter. Well, the past does matter. And so many change projects fail because they assume that what we've done and what you've invested in, either as John as the owner of the business, or the people who've been working here for a number of years, doesn't matter. Of course it matters.
Of course it does, yeah.
Now the principle is that if we want people to take the journey with us into the future, then it's important they take the past with them. If it is the past, it should be the best of the past. So the very first thing we're going to do is get 750 people in the room through asking stories around what works the best of MHR, to identify what we call the positive core of the business.
Absolutely.
To spend time to honour the past. We live in a world where our newspapers and our commentaries are so full of gloom and doom, where the focus on the future of work is negative. It's about automation for the sake of automation. There is a much bigger idea out here now, and that is we have an opportunity to use these technologies, which these guys actually are creating, some of the best technologies in the future of work, to do two things. One is to look at the work in organisations which can be automated,
absolutely,
and should be, but then rather than get rid of people, to free people up,
to do the value adding,
and the creative and the wondering, and then how to connect those people to collaborate at scale. To do what we call both business good and also social good in the community. Yeah,
absolutely. And you and I have had many fantastic discussions about the social good during the week, haven't we? Right?
Yes.
And it's about actually doing that social good. It's about those connections that we all have on LinkedIn and Twitter, and actually people driving forward their own passions, driving forward their own causes, being authentic on there, and in that way actually making connections with people further afield than they would normally have done.
And one of the extraordinary things about and we've got something we call the summit room, which is the appreciative inquiry conversations of bringing what we call the whole living system of people into the room to inquire into what works, and then build and imagine a future taking the best of what works forward. But we've also got a social room. The social room is an organised conversation, using the best of the social media platforms to engage around a question. If you could change something for the better in your world or your community using social media to collaborate at scale, what would that be? And what that starts with, and this is the power of this, is it starts with individuals. So that the heart of the future of everything that MHR is now looking at is the idea that the individual matters.
Absolutely right.
And so the technology is shifting now from the big corporate sort of engine factory room approach towards technology to the fundamental question of, who are you, Andy? What do you care about? Oh, by the way, what's your personal hashtag?
Yeah, absolutely right.
What's my personal hashtag? And then how can we bring those hashtags together to create something that takes the best of us into something that makes us even more effective together?
Cool. And we've talked about two major things that we've worked on this week. We've talked about the summit rooms, which is a real actual room where people will be in there.
Room,
and we've talked about the virtual room, which is a social room.
Yes.
And what we've also discussed this week is how we actually bring those together.
Yes.
And we are going to encourage people in that summit room to be social. We're going to encourage them to use hashtags, to actually share our journey, to take our pictures, to make their comments, and just be really proud of actually what they're achieving when we're in that summit room.
And one of the things that's exciting for me personally to be here with MHR is because MHR is having a conversation around the technology in the future of work, but at the same time recognizing very early that it's not just about the technology. In fact, you can't lead with technology. You've got to lead with, in fact, even a set of principles about what the future of work looks like.
Absolutely.
So what we've been doing this week with an amazing team is spending some time actually thinking about and starting to create a set of principles in which organizations and companies can use as a cookie cutter to create the future of work in their own organizations. No such set of principles exists anywhere around the world. So out of Reddington Hall right now, which has a history of innovation over 150 years and care, we're going to see the world's first future of work principles being born. And we're going to then do something which I think is very authentic. We're going to apply those principles to a conversation with 750 people around what they envisage to be the future of work, and then design that in ways that will employ those principles. And then we're going to invite, through the social room, a global community to join us in the future of work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that reach around the globe through social media, we're already seeing that, aren't we? And we've talked about how that happens. You've given examples this week to everybody of how that connectivity through social good, through social media, can actually come back in a commercial way. So that's part of the whole discussion that we've actually had.
Yeah, and the fact is that if you think of the old model of work, which is still the current model of work for many organisations, which is single enterprise, and dog eat dog, deficit thinking, you've got to, sort of red ocean, you're fighting with everybody else for that piece of cake and whatever, so you're going to close around the IP. And so it's the notion of closedness. The social room does something different. It's the idea of openness. And so the paradox here is that, in fact, the more you're open, let's just get one thing out of the way. Let's assume we get some basic things right in place around, some basic levels of protection, security, common sense of what you say. Now, you put all that
once
stuff
you've
to
done
one
that,
side, there's a heck of a lot of room left over.
Of course there is. Yeah.
To have a different conversation. And that conversation is a connection with the rest of humanity as an ecosystem. So we've heard this term ecosystem, but the real, hey, listen, what's that bird?
It's a collared dove.
It's a dove. I love that dove. It's the sound of my youth in England.
Don't use your track. You keep going.
No, I love it. I love the dove sound. It's all about life. Anyway, so the idea is that we're engaging in a conversation in the social room to find people who care about the future of work, as the idea of engaging with people around social good, around being all of who they are at work, and also recognising one of the big things that's come out this week, and not just this week, but in the conversation we're having here at MHR, is that the MHR view, and I guess it's my view as well, we're morphing on this, is the idea that the future of work is life work.
Yes.
The young kids, for example, are crying out to be able to engage in the conversation around the things that matter to them, which is things like not just making money, that's important, not just getting business results, that's still important, it always will be, but things like what they care about in their own local community. And so topics like homelessness,
yes, key.
Even and domestic violence,
and mentoring the Big Sis project.
Mentoring Big Sis, having young girls who don't have a big sister to look after them can go into the social room and find a big sister, and go online with them, and this sister in effect adopts them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And these are wonderful discussions, and what we're seeing is the idea of this creativity being able to be released in
and we had an
ways.
amazing conversation, didn't we, with one of our colleagues this week about actually how he came to work here, and he came out with this brilliant quote that is going to be the subject of a blog or more videos. And he said that he saw what we were doing here with the future of work, and actually didn't care if he came here to push a mop. He just wanted to come and work here and be part of the project and be part of the future of work. And again, that's what we're doing here. That is an incredible way of actually making people actually realise this is more than just about the traditional rewards of work. This is actually going to be about the future of work for everybody else.
Yeah, and just perhaps to wrap up, one of the things that impresses me is the degree of depth of thinking that the guys here, I love the dove sound, the guys here at MHR are thinking about together around, what is the future of work. And there's one key word that's resonating in these conversations, and that is that the idea that the future of work is all about flow.
Yeah.
So you'll hear this word flow a lot more in the future around the future of work. So the future of work sees people engaged. I think the word engaged will morph into, you'll see people in the flow. And as one person put it the other day, they said, well, actually being in the flow means we're feeling in the zone for most of the time. Now, you can't be up all the time. If you're up on something, if you're up all the time, you're on something, yeah? That's not what we're saying. But we're saying that the future of work is actually enabling the most of us to be, or it's, I should put it this way, it's enabling the realness of us to be the most of us, and at work rather than just a part of us, because up till now we've only taken a part of us to work. So apart from MHR as a company, apart from the technology, they've got a platform called People First, which is really interesting. But just check out and follow what MHR is doing over the next few months with its own workforce around taking the authentic road into the future of work, and we'll keep you updated. It's called #NextChapter in the Summit Room, the social room. I'm looking forward. It's a great privilege to be part of that.
Brilliant. Jeremy, thanks very much for that. Well, everybody, we're going to wrap up there, but thank you for joining us. Jeremy just mentioned articles about flow. If you want to check out the People First website, which is www.people-first.com, you'll find some of the articles about flow on there and links to Jeremy's blogs as well. But yeah, thanks very much for joining us today,
Cheers,
Jeremy.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody. See you later.
Cheers.
Cheers.